Welcome to Carolyn Braden's Turning the Ordinary into the Extraordinary. Today I'm going to show you how to do this really cool weaving. It's using materials that I found in Gatlinburg, Tennessee, and it's a really cool project. So let's get started. These are the items you will need for your weaving. You will need a stick. I found this during a walk in Gatlinburg. You'll need some yarn of all different textures and sizes. I also have some wool that can be easily pulled and woven into the big weaving. And I also have some raffia. So we're going to start this project by cutting out our warp strings. The warp strings go from top to bottom. The wefts go left to right, weft, left, and these warps will go up and down. Get it? So here's what you do. I'm going to measure out with a measuring tape with some of the thicker yarn, about 60 inches in length. You always want to cut your warps just a little bit longer than you think you'll need it, because as you weave, they'll start to shrink up just a bit. And now we're going to attach the warps to the stick. So here is how you attach your warps to the stick. I've got this warp and I'm going to double it up and make it just one piece like this. Then I'm going to come to the stick and I'm going to start at one end. I'm going to loop it, take the bottom ends, put them through the top, and loop them down just like that. Then I'm going to come to the other end and I'm going to work from the ends to the center. So here's how you do it again, in case you need to see it again. I'm going to come in just a little bit, about the same length from this side as I did from the other side. Loop, put it behind the stick, bring the ends through the loop, and pull. And that attaches them nice and securely. I'm going to continue doing that until I get them all on. You can tie them on kind of loosely at this point, just in case you want to adjust them. Ooh, and these were not even. I need to make sure that they're even. If you make them kind of loose, at this point you can still adjust the space in between. My weaving is going to be kind of a loose weaving, so if you want it to be a tighter weaving, you can make some more warps. After getting them all on, I see that I have a little bit of a gap here. I could either move them down or I can just cut myself off another piece, and that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to make this an 11 strand warp. Okay, so I have my warps on here, and now I have to get my wefts in here. Like I said before, wefts go left. So I've got warps up and down, weft. I'm going to start from the left and I'm going to go over, under, over, under, over, under. Before I can do that, I'm going to go ahead and get all of these separated. I'm going to stick with the same color for this first go around of the weaving, and then I'm going to add in some color in a little bit. So while this is still attached to my big roll, my big spool of yarn, here's how you do it. Let's pull off a little bit of loose yarn, and I'll teach you the way I taught my students in the classroom. I always had them start with going left to right. I'm going to start by going under, over, under, over, under, over, under, over, under, over, under. Start pulling just a little bit, over, under, over, under, over, under, over, under, over, under, over, and just kind of pull it through. I'm gonna wiggle this up towards the top. This is going to be a looser weaving, so if you want it to be tighter, you would need more warps and you would need to get your wefts going much tighter than this. I'm not going to do that today. I'm going to do something just a little bit differently. And I'm going to leave this, I think I'm going to tie the ends on here. I'm just loosely knotting it on so it stays. I kind of like that. Let's do it again. So with this one, I went under over. For this one, to make sure that it's not going to go and touch this one, you're going to start by going over, under. Each time you do a pass, it's going to be the opposite. This one was under, over. This time it's going to go over, under, over, under, over, under, over, under. And now you can kind of see how that is. Looking cool, nice and loose here. I'm gonna cut the ends a little long, that way I can tie them on. And I can always go and trim the edges up later. And because I'm doing this nice and loosely, it's not pulling all of these warps too tight. And that's one thing you do need to be careful of when weaving, is if you do pull it tight, be careful not to pull it too tight because everything will start going into the center. When I did this in the classroom, sometimes the students would have this hourglass shaped weaving, which was fine and it looked neat, but it was simply because if you pull too tightly, you're not going to be able to get your wefts through your warps eventually because it's just going to pull. So this one went under, so this was over, so we're going to go under, over, under, over, and I'm going to tie my ends on. And I'm going to continue doing this until I get all of these, this brownish, just about all the way down this weaving. So I have this portion done. I've left a little bit on the ends loose just because that's the look I'm going for. If you want to go from top all the way down to the bottom, you can, but you don't have to. And I made sure to trim off my ends as I wove. It looks pretty cool. I could just leave it like this, and you could as well, and that looks really neat. But I'm going to now start adding in some sari ribbon because I'm making this kind of mixed media. And I'm going to do the same concept that I did with the weaving part. So I'm going to double this up. I'm going to measure out about the width of the weaving. I'm going to do 2 strands in between each of these segments. I'm just going to kind of go in and out of these sections. I'm going to use the same concept of going over, under, over, under. So let's see here. I went over, let's go under, over, under. It helps when you say it out loud because even I get confused. I don't think I'm going to knot it. I think I'm just going to leave it loose on the edges. And I think I'm going to do a second piece as well. I'm going to continue this method of 2 pieces of sari ribbon into each of these segments until I get that part done, and then we'll come back and show you the next step. So I have all of the sari ribbon in it, and now I want to finish off my ends here. I suggest that you make sure you hang this up occasionally while you are weaving, just in case you are starting to get that hourglass shape. And if you don't want that, then hang it up as you go just so you can make sure that you're staying on track as far as the shape. So here's how you finish off the ends. This is all I'm going to do. So I'm just going to tie them once time twice, make it a little tight knot and let it hang. And just keep doing this all along the end of your weaving. Now we're gonna get some of this wool in there, this loose wool. If you don't wanna do that at this point, you just wanna leave it as is, you can. But I see some little gaps in here that I wanna take care of with some of this really neat wool. So what you can do with this wool is just anywhere where you see there's a gap, you can kind of just loosely weave it in to those areas, just like that. I'm gonna kind of just do it here and there with a bunch of different colors until it looks full enough for me. I found all of my supplies, by the way, at the Smoky Mountain Spinnery. It's in Gatlinburg, Tennessee. They are an amazing shop, and the people in there, they helped me find all of these beautiful pieces. They had shopping carts full of this really neat wool. So if you're ever in Tennessee, in Gatlinburg, I definitely recommend stopping by there. This is definitely adding some cool texture to this weaving. You don't need to worry about securing them with knots because the thickness of this is going to keep them in. Why did I choose the colors that I did? Well, because these are the colors that are in my bedroom. I know I want to hang this above my bed. So when choosing colors, I would stick to a palette that is something you just really like. Maybe it's going to go in your baby's room, or maybe it's going to go in your living room. Choose colors that accent the environment where it's going to be placed. So now that I have everything inside of here that I want, I'm just gonna go through, and anywhere where I see maybe some of that ribbon that got hidden, I'm gonna kind of loop it up just to kind of give it a different look and to make sure that it's seen, because it's very beautiful too. Here's the finished project. Create one that you like best. There's no really wrong or right design when it comes to weaving. So have fun with this. Thanks for watching Carolyn Braden's Turning the Ordinary into the Extraordinary. For more really cool DIY crafts and more, don't forget to subscribe.
Visit Carolyn'sBloomingCreations.com.